Taoiseach, there's a very famous poem, which I'm sure you know, by Pastor Martin Niemöller. First they came for, and it begins, first they came for the communists, and I did not speak out because I was not a communist, and then it says I did not speak out because I wasn't a socialist, a trade unionist, a Jew, and of course eventually there was nobody to speak out. And it's very easily transferable, Taoiseach, for your approach to the actions of the US President and the Trump regime. You could insert Mexicans, migrants, Muslims, peaceful protesters in any of those lines. And Taoiseach, who must they come for before you'll speak out? You haven't spoken out about Trump's attack on Venezuela and the kidnapping of its leader, the bombing of Iran. You still haven't even ruled out going on the Board of Peace for Palestine that he's proposing, a disgusting collection of war criminals aiming to turn Gaza into Vegas. And where do you stand about the unleashing of ICE operating in the US as a modern Gestapo, modern-day slave traders? I'm sorry it's amusing. It's actually very serious, because in a new poll, by the way, by Morocco yesterday, it shows that you're out of sync with the majority of the Irish population. 47% do not want the leader of our country to go on our national holiday to the White House and give publicity to a dangerous demagogue, colonialist, racist and sexual predator. 35% do. The Irish public is again ahead of the political establishment. They want you to show a moral backbone. St. Patrick's Day is particularly about the Irish migration experience. What an insult to celebrate it with somebody who's terrorising migrants as we speak. Now, there's many despots in the world, Taoiseach, but I'd like you to focus on the one who you're going to greet on St. Patrick's Day. Louis XIV said, "L'État, c'est moi," the state is me. Trump is saying, "Le monde, c'est moi," the world is me. He has to be stopped. Now, you were questioned last week on this and you said, bread on the table. Have you and Fine Gael led us to the point where our economic policy is so reliant on American FDI that we are a moral bankruptcy when it comes to these issues? By the way, the single biggest fear of American multinationals pulling out was the housing crisis that you've created, nothing else. Now, Taoiseach, have you seen the videos from Minnesota? People shout across the streets, "They're coming, stay inside." They whistle to defend and warn their neighbours. Children are screaming in detention camps, modern-day concentration camps for kids. There's a protest going on in one as we speak. US cities are in revolt against Trump. Which side are you on?
Thank you, Deputy.
Are you going to go and shake hands with the tyrant who's calling them domestic terrorists, or are you going to show solidarity with the ordinary people of the US challenging this dictator?
Yeah, Deputy, I find your contribution interesting, because you quote the poem in terms, they first came for. That's actually more applicable to the Bedora regime than to the regime. Well, it is. What's the all about? No, sorry, hold on now. You mentioned that President Trump was democratically elected by the American people in an emphatic electoral victory. You may not like that, but you cannot actually dispute that. Medora stole the election. Remains our position. But I do believe in engagement. I don't believe in your approach that we should engage with anybody, because if I was to apply your approach, we'd be engaging with nobody in the world. Or with a lot of people we wouldn't be engaging with. But you're very selective. And your party and group have an obsession with the United States. It doesn't have to be President Trump. It could be President Biden. It could be President Obama.
Yeah, we're here today to question you, the government. You're not here to question us in this lot.
Sorry,
but I would
Deputies,
say I have absolutely nothing to answer for in relation to protesting against dictators, including the Iranian dictator. I've been on many protests, including Putin. I've been outside that embassy more times than you ever have, any of you. So I don't need to be selective. You're selective about who's a dictator, Taoiseach. You're selective. You've imposed sanctions on Iran, nothing against Israel. That's been genociding the people of Palestine for over 2.5 years. Taoiseach, are you going on the Board of Peace? Are you that craven that you haven't even got the spine to clearly state that you wouldn't take any part in such a board? You've had over a week to answer that question. And the reality is that there is a civil war in effect going on in cities in the US. And I have to say, my faith in humanity is restored by the ordinary Americans who are rooting and standing up for their neighbours.
Thank you, Deputy.
And pushing Trump back, actually, that he has had to push back.
Coppinger.
But they'd be nice to have a bit of solidarity on St Patrick's Day from you.
to respond now, Deputy.
Well, first of all, I'd say, Deputy, that like yesterday in the House, government sought sanction for a loan for Ukraine. No, you didn't. You weren't there to vote or whatever. You didn't vote one, but your colleagues voted against that. And like we support peace. We support. I'll answer no in whatever way I deemed answering. If you don't like it, that's your problem.
Now up, Deputy.